I guess.
We can do this?
Get this music out of here. We don't deserve the whole intro.
We could have just let it play for the next 2 hours.
Look, man. All right, here's what we're going to do first. Before we do anything else today, we're going to try and give you something.
Okay. We should just do all the giveaways right now.
We have so many things to give away.
That's right.
The good news is we have things to give you. If you would like to win an exclusive Insiders hoodie courtesy of Jiffy Lube that you can only win through this contest.
That's right.
Along with a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate. Get yourself right with the holiday driving season like now.
Yeah, go get your headlights checked, battery tested.
Windshield wipers,
headlights,
brake lights.
Yes, all of those things. Like, have your oil changed, like all of it. Do it right now.
$33 off coupon.
There's only one thing worse than the Sacramento Kings right now. It's getting stuck at your mother-in-law's house for an extra 3 days.
Oh, boy.
Because your car broke down.
Oh, boy. Go to ESPN1320.com right now. Find the Jiffy Lube contest page. Today's word is trouble.
Trouble.
Trouble. That is the Jiffy Lube teamwork word of the day because the Kings are very much in trouble after a 113-110 loss. 113-100 loss to the Lakers last night. Look, man, we keep talking about the red button. I don't know what the red button is because I think it's different from person to person. But continuing on whatever path they're on right now and going, hey, it's going to work itself out. No, it's not. It's not going to magically get better. They're not going to magically turn into this awesome defensive team that knocks down a bunch of threes. And oh my God, look, they're the Boston Celtics. That's not going to happen. This group of players, not even going to single anybody out. This particular group of players, this roster as constructed, is not it. So do literally anything.
You have to do something, Kyle.
Somebody has to be awake over there at Golden One Center to do something. There's no way you watched that last night and went, no, this is good. No, we're fine with this. This is good. Everything's going according to plan.
Like, I saw a scene of Vivek Ranadive sitting courtside. The last couple of games, it's been grumpy. Like, he's been very upset. They brought in Vlade to try to cheer him up because just so people know, Vlade is one of those people that you would, like in life, there are people that you would want to go hang out with and have dinner with. Vlade Divac is one of those dudes. He's one of the coolest dudes you're ever going to run into. It felt like they brought him in to like put his arm around Vivek and like watch the disaster, the train wreck happening together.
They brought in his emotional support Vlade.
It was an emotional support Vlade.
Okay.
Last night, it was Anjali that was sitting there trying to console her dad courtside.
Great.
Like, what is happening is...
This is all good stuff. This is all signs of a healthy organization.
You just had 2 games in 12 days, and both of those games ended in massive disappointment. Incredible disappointment. And it's not even just that you lost. It's the way you lost. It's that you gave up. You were outscored 41-21 in the first quarter against the Denver Nuggets and then had to climb back in the game the entire time. And then lose because...
And then smoke a 10-point lead with 4 minutes to go.
And then a 35-year-old Hall of Famer fumbles the ball underneath the basket and doesn't score the game-winning bucket with a couple of seconds left. Like, you go into a game against the Lakers and you're in it. And then you're just not. Like, you have things that are working and then you go away from them. I don't know what to say, man. I like the way that they've lost, having Laker fans in the building chanting, "Let's go Lakers." Like, and really almost no response from Kings fans. Because at this point, like, what are you supposed to say? We don't know. Our team sucks at home. They don't play good here. We don't get to see good basketball at home, despite the fact that we're paying some of the highest ticket prices in the league. All we get to see is bad basketball at home. It's wild.
In the chatty house, youtube.com/ESPN1320, twitch.tv/ESPN1320 if you would like to watch this show. Appreciate everybody listening either on the free Odyssey app or, of course, on the radio on 1320 AM. Badfinger said Kings occasionally win games, but they rarely beat their opponents. there is no killer instinct with this team. That's a good place to start.
Kyle, I'm going to be honest. They're more talented than a lot of teams. And
yeah,
so
it doesn't matter on a nightly freaking basis.
No, so they win some of those games that we're talking about, that you're talking about there, Badfinger. They win some of those games because they're just so much more talented than their opponent.
Mhm.
It's the other game. Anytime things get tough, it's gone.
Domantas Sabonis in the locker room last night. We were watching the video earlier.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to play it for everybody because it's the same thing we've been hearing from the Kings for a year and a half now.
Mhm.
It's, well, we know what we got to do. We got to lock in. We got to focus.
We love each other.
We love each other. We know what we got to do. We just got to go out there and do it. Okay. I'm sorry. That's not good enough anymore. We know what we got to do. We just got to do it. No, it doesn't. That plays when you've lost 3 in a row and it's like, hey, you know what? We know the fixes we got to make. We just got to go out there and do it. Okay. When you're 13-15 in a year where everybody in this area was going like, yeah, hey, this is a 50+ win team. I didn't think that was crazy.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the one reason why I'm going to look at Domantas Sabonis, and I'm going to believe that what he is saying, he believes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't believe that Domantas Sabonis is any part of the reason why they're losing. And he doesn't know why they're losing.
Mm-hmm.
We watched him on Tuesday take one of the most brutal falls that you're going to see. And the dude somehow mustered enough strength to finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
Played the rest of the game. Like happened in the second quarter. I didn't think he'd be able to come out of halftime. In all honesty, like talking to him in the last couple of days, he didn't believe he was going to be able to come out after halftime. Gritted it out. You watched him in the second quarter last night.
Mm-hmm.
Kings call a timeout. He starts pointing for the medical team to come over immediately. He runs over to the bench, and they start working on his back. He was hurting so incredibly bad. There are players there that are playing through pain, that are playing through all kinds of things, and still putting up huge performances. But it's the collective. For some reason, there's something missing with this group of players that is allowing them to be good on the court together. It does feel like a group of individuals who take turns. It feels like a group of individuals who have to get their specific number of shots at certain times. We got to the third quarter last night, and Kyle, I like De'Aaron Fox picks up his 5th foul. They've got to pull him out of the game. Malik Monk pick and roll with Domantas Sabonis bucket. Malik Monk pick and roll with Domantas Sabonis bucket. Malik Monk pick and roll Domantas Sabonis bucket. 3 out of 4 plays. Boom, 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 boom.
What was the 4th play?
DeMar DeRozan jumper. Then a DeMar DeRozan jumper.
A 17-footer.
17-foot fall-away jumper. Then a Kevin Huerter 27-foot jumper. Never again did we have a Malik Monk to Domantas Sabonis dunk, pick and roll bucket. Like, they just stopped going to what was working.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Like, if you're on the court and you're a player and you're like, hey, can we keep running this play until literally their entire team is sitting on it and we can't run the play anymore?
Right. Run it until the wheels fall off. Because once the wheels fall off, it means something else is now open. You need to have a counter for it, which I'm sure they do. But I don't understand the reluctance to just hammer pick and roll all the time. Malik Monk, you mentioned it yesterday, is statistically the best pick and roll ball handler.
Yeah, the best pick and roll ball handler in the league, like last 3 years. Like,
That's insane.
He's incredible.
Run it all the time. I think fundamentally, it's really clear. Like, we can talk trade market again if you want, and maybe that would help. But I saw someone in the chatty house say Kyle Kuzma and Cam Johnson aren't fixing this team. Yeah, I agree. There's something fundamentally wrong with this collection of players.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's an interpersonal conflict, whether it is the mental makeup, whether it is injury, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room day to day to know exactly. But the fact that we all last year, because last season we went, hey, they're coming off a 48 win year. They should be a 50+ win team this year. And what was the issue we talked about all year? Athleticism and length on the wings and just desire, like heart. Like, where's the dogs on this team? We said that so many times. And then Keon comes in. It's like, oh, yeah, hey, Keon, he's a difference maker like that. And it's just, when you keep running into the same problem over and over and over and over again, like, eventually you're the problem. And I couldn't agree more that put Cam Johnson in for 24 minutes last night. Is that making a substantial difference?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
No. And again, like, I know, like, structurally there were things in that game that were frustrating. I thought the officiating wasn't great. There were things that, like, but you have to understand, the Lakers always get the whistles. You know that going in. So why are you reaching? Why are you just, like, making easy calls for the officials? It's the Lakers. They're always going to get the calls. I don't want to hear any of those excuses from anybody. Like, you went into a game and you did not execute whatever game plan that you had.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The officiating wasn't awesome last night, but the first thing I'm looking at is, you don't you don't get to start with officiating when you're 13 and 14.
No,
you don't get to start there.
13 and 15 now.
Well, and now yeah. 13 and 15. Thank you. But what I'm looking at is, you've got 19 points off your bench, including 7 combined from Orlando Robinson, Isaac Jones, and Alex Len, who played a grand total of 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And you've got the Lakers, who have one guy off their bench scoring 16 by himself. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Keegan Murray, 4 for 11 from the floor. I'm looking at DeMar DeRozan, 4 for 13 from the floor. Those are the things I'm looking at first.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't think the officiating was great, but I'm not going to sit here and harp on the whistle last night when there's a fundamental issue with the Kings.
Oh no, I totally agree.
That's where I land here.
And I mean, this week we saw De'Aaron Fox go out on Draymond Green's podcast and very specifically say it's like, it's personnel. Like, we need different players. Like, basically.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
He didn't say those words, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
Heavily implied?
No, I mean, he was very close to saying those words. Like,
yeah.
we need changes.
Yes.
Like, and I think everyone can see it, but at the same time, like, if they can't pull off a deal because they don't have anything to offer, like, you can't just make a deal to make a deal. You have to make a deal because it makes your team better.
And at some point, that I agree. You can't just swap bad player for bad player or a non-contributor for non-contributor and go, look, we made a trade. That doesn't, I'm with you. That doesn't work. And this is where, and again, we're having a wide-ranging conversation here. If you would like to join the program, please do on the Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. If that's the case, if the Kings are sitting here in December of 2024 and they are unable to be competitive in the trade market, you have a very real problem in your front office.
Oh, yeah.
And if the case is that they're calling and they're going, hey, Trey Lyles expiring and Kevin Huerter's got this deal and we have Devin Carter and we might have these picks down the line. We'll give you this pick, but there's an asterisk and it might be that pick. And that's not enough. Then it starts getting into what we talked about the other day. Now you start getting into, okay, are you including Keegan Murray? And are you including anyone? We've had all these guys who are untouchable for so long. It's like, if the mantra is you got to make a move, you've got to do something. The further and further we get from the 22-23 season, the more substantial that move has to become. At least that's what it looks like from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you can't say you don't want them to touch their core. Their core is 13 and 15.
Thank you.
I mean, that's them are the facts, Jack.
It's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And again, this is not, and we talked about this last offseason. At some point, you're going to reach a point where, like, hey, it's going to get real uncomfortable. If you want to get from good to great, it's going to get a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, if you want to go from good to great, you need to have a plan to go from good to great.
Right.
Like, and their coaching can be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you can't walk into a season with glaring weaknesses on your roster again and again and expect that to somehow be masked by scoring.
Right.
I mean,
that's insane.
At this point in the season, they are like maybe league average to undersized at point guard. They are now undersized at point guard. They are undersized at small forward.
Mm-hmm.
They're undersized at power forward, and they're undersized at center.
Which, one of the things I don't understand about that specifically is, correct me if I'm wrong, does Monty McNair not come from the Daryl Morey tree?
Yeah, of course.
Part of what made the Rockets so damn successful in the mid 2010s was because they had a bunch of dudes who were like between 6'6" and 6'9", and they had a rim running center who blocked shots, and their primary ball handler was this 6'6" hoss of a human in James Harden. And they were super switchable on defense, and they were tenacious, and yeah, they scored the hell out of the ball. But you know what? They should have beaten the Kevin Durant Warriors because of their ability to switch, because of their versatility defensively, their ability to make things hard on one of the best offenses of all time. And now you've got Monty McNair, who comes from that tree, rolling out this team that, as you just mentioned, is undersized at basically every position, has no switchability and no defensive versatility. That doesn't make any sense at all.
No. But
I don't get what he's doing.
I will tell you that, like, this team can score with anybody.
Yes.
But the answer just can't be to score as many points as possible.
Right.
It can't be, because you just saw what happened in the last 4 minutes against the Denver Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
They had 4 made free throws and went 7-7 from the field in the final 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You could not get a stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. If you can't get a stop when you need it, you're going to lose at the NBA level.
Yep.
And
that's what
again,
it comes down to.
Last night, Lakers got stops when they needed to. Kings did not. Lakers win.
Ball game over.
Ball game. That's
it.
Comes down to. So I mean, I'm with Mike Brown on when it comes to like the offense defense debate. He wants to have a great offense, but he also has to demand that his players play defense at least somewhat.
Yep.
And he has to have the players that can play defense.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have such a gigantic drop off from the defensive minded player that you have hiding on your bench to the offensive minded player that you have in your starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge issue.
Yep.
Like, what is Mike Brown supposed to do in crunch time? Is he supposed to pull off Malik Monk off the court?
Yeah, good luck.
Who is so dynamic and scoring and making all these assists, and put Keon Ellis in the game, who can't create for himself, which is fine. That's not who Keon is. Like, his dunk last night was off the charts crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not an offensive weapon.
No.
He's a defender. And so there are these give and takes that you have to do. But the contrast in players is really, really like crazy. How do you have these like diametrically opposed players that you're supposed to fit into the same exact rotation?
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that they've done a good job of finding some, diamonds in the rough. I think that Monty McNair has done a good job of building a very talented roster, but there are visible weaknesses in this roster that have not been addressed.
There's a difference between a talented roster and a well-constructed roster.
Yeah.
Ideally, you have both.
Yeah.
It's the Celtics. But I would take a well-constructed roster. There's a requisite level of talent.
Yeah. Well,
whatever this is.
The other thing I'm going to point out too, it's not Monty by himself. Like, this is.
Yeah, we should. Monty's the head. This is a front office problem.
It's Monty and Wes. It's not just Monty. Whatever's happening here, it's like if the coaching staff if Mike Brown gets let go, almost the entire coaching staff gets let go,
Right.
like the next season.
Mm-hmm.
If Monty McNair is not going to be your general manager, like you can't just hand it to a guy that was like his right hand man the entire time.
That would not be helpful.
That doesn't make any sense because they're like
self-defeating.
Two people in the same room, and unless they're just fighting and one of them has like all these ideas that are just getting pushed off to the side because he's not the head guy. That's not the way this whole thing works.
I don't think so.
So
send out to the Elk Grove Kia talk line. It's 916-909-1320. We're packing up the Dawn bit for today because I believe the person on the phone doesn't like it. Lewis, you're on the Insiders with Kyle and James. What's up?
Hey, how y'all fellas doing? It's so funny because I'm at work and like I just had to usher a customer out. Like, get out because I'm going to be on that radio. Say that, but it's the truth, bro. It just happened. But look, so you know what's interesting? I sit back and I'm like, James was talking about how Monk and Sabonis were working so well together on the pick and roll. And to me, the truth of the matter is I feel like Monk is more the point guard and Fox is more the shooting guard. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by it, I just don't really see a lot of playmaking from Fox. You know what I mean? So I find that fascinating, and I'd like to see what you guys want to make with that. But if I could just throw one last little piece in there, I'm the guy who says, you know what? Maybe it's time to trade Fox. I know it's blasphemous. Trade Fox for maybe Levine, right? A two guard. Right? Then we got Monk at the point guard. And then we got Levine. And then maybe we get one or two number one picks to go with that. You know what I mean? And maybe we can use those to get somebody with some length. Or maybe we trade Fox for, a true power forward, right? And then we just slide Teagan in.
Right.
I'm not averse to trading DeRozan either.
All right. Thanks, Lewis. Appreciate you, buddy.
Lewis got some ideas.
Lewis, here's no bad ideas today. Honestly, like if you disagree with that, okay, that's fine. And I'm not. I would probably disagree with it, but I love that. That's what I'm talking about. Like Lewis hit the exact note I was trying to hit. Like when you're talking red button, it's everything should be on the table. And I wouldn't trade now, for the record, to respond to that directly. I wouldn't do that. I'm not trading De'Aaron Fox for Zach LaVine.
Oh no.
No. But I think the move that's to be made has to be substantial. I wouldn't do that one, but I think it has to be substantial like that.
Yeah,
that's from where I'm sitting. That's what my thought process is.
I think you've just put yourself in a situation where you have to start making extremely difficult decisions, and they're lasting decisions. And like we talk about this all the time, like you want to make one move. What's the cause and the effect of that move? Like what is a ripple effect? How long can you stop what happens after that? And I think the answer, like for a lot of these things, is like no. Like once you press a nuclear button here, whether it's letting go of a coach or which would just be at this point scapegoating. Like
it doesn't. I don't think that fixes the problem.
No, it's like it doesn't matter who steps into the driver's seat there. Like what are they supposed to do with the same exact? Like it's not like you let Mike Brown go and every player got 3 inches taller.
Sure.
Like so, what exactly is the point? And like to doing something like that, you have a system in place, you have a structure and a culture in place. The plan has to be even more aggressive on trying to change the roster right now. And if you can't, then I mean that's just like you have to admit that you got yourself into a situation and you failed, because that's where we're heading with this. Like if you can't make a move, if you can't figure out a way to get through to pull yourself out of this, you have to admit that whatever you created wasn't good enough and that you failed at the task. And that has its own repercussions. And so like I don't know where they go. I don't know how they find something that will change the entire course of this season, but they should be looking for that right now. And again, you're not making a panic move. you're going to have to give up more than you wanted to because you put yourself in a situation
Yeah.
that just is not working out at all.
Mhm.
And, again, Domantas Sabonis said last night, I think, hey, we're only 3 games out of 5th place still. But that is such a long ways away because
that's a fine mantra to take if you were 15-12. Like, hey, we're 3 games out.
yeah,
Like, okay. They're 2 games under. 500 feels a long way away.
Kyle, they're 3 games out of 1st place, but they're also 3.5 out of 5th place. Out of 5th place, they're also 3.5 games out of 13th place, and they're 6 games out of 14th place, and they're 8 games out of last place. And in all honesty, they're at the very bottom of the Western Conference.
Mhm.
There are 4 teams at the bottom of the Western Conference, and the Sacramento Kings are one of those 4 teams.
Oof.
And so, yeah, you are 3 games behind the Clippers, but how do you make that up? How do you make that up when you can't win at home?
Mhm.
When you're now, 6-9 at home?
Yeah.
How do you
Not
make it
nice.
up? I don't know the answer
Mm-mm.
because that's tough.
I have no clue. Here's what we're going to do. We have a lot to discuss. I see lots of ideas in the chatty house. I want to get to all of them. I also want to get to the Elk Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320. Mitch, I see you hanging out. Mitch, I know you can hear me. Go ahead and hang up and give us a call back in a little bit because it's 10:30 on a Friday.
That's right.
We had a long discussion about this.
We did.
Faraz Siddiqui of Upper Hand Fantasy is going to hop in right now. Well, at 10:30, coming up here in a minute. We're going to do our fantasy football thing and then we've got Kings for another hour after that.
Yeah.
So we're going to do our fantasy football thing because the Kings are already ruining weekends.
Yes.
We don't want you to also have your fantasy football playoffs ruined.
Yeah. Like, if we're going to bring in a fantasy expert all season long and then leave you high and dry when you get to the playoffs, that would not be okay.
Not ideal.
No.
So Faraz will be joining us next.
The
after
ultimate
Faraz,
palate cleanser.
After Faraz, we'll get back into the messy stuff with the Kings because we got to talk about Mike Brown. We got to talk about DeMar DeRozan. Got to talk about Monty McNair. We'll continue talking about De'Aaron Fox. There is so much to get into because it's red button time for the Kings. And we're going to get into that. But we're also going to get you help with your fantasy football playoffs. So hit us up at youtube.com/ESPN1320. That's the chatty house. Jump in there, ask your questions. We are here for you. We're trying to help you win your fantasy football matchups this weekend. Hopefully winning some money. Let's get that holiday season started right. He's James. I'm Kyle. We're the Insiders. Fantasy Friday coming up next, and then a bunch of Kings with an emergency Sacramento Kings roundtable at 11:30 with D'Lo, KC, Jesse Tapia. The whole gang is going to be in here discussing what the hell is wrong with the Kings. All of that coming up on the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. He's James. I'm Kyle. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Clear.
Hey, mute us for 1 sec. Hello. Okay. Give us your
hit us with your fantasy.
Your fantasy questions. Boom. Somebody asked about the Davion.
Hang on one second. Mrs. Mack wants us to share. We were doing some background producing and figuring out if we wanted to do the Faraz segment the way we normally do it, or if we wanted to shorten it. So that was the discussion. It wasn't super interesting. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Or if we want to ask Faraz about his take on the Sacramento Kings.
Ooh.
Maybe that's it. Carlton. This is what Hammer 28 games in the season. What grade do you give the Davion and Barnes for DeRozan? First of all, Davion wasn't any part of that. Harrison Barnes for sure. And at this point, I don't know. I think it's an even Steven trade, to be honest with you, because the Sacramento Kings weren't good last year either with Harrison Barnes instead of DeMar DeRozan. So, like, in all honesty, like the Davion thing, what I did not think that I would be telling you at this point is that the Davion Mitchell, Sasha Vezenkov trade is turning out to be a very, very bad trade for the Kings because there were second-round picks involved, and those second-round picks don't usually mean all that much. But now the Kings don't have any second-round picks because they just gave them all up in that trade. They gave up, I think it was 2 second-round picks to dump the salary of Sasha and Davion for McDaniels. Then they had to give up another second-round pick to clear McDaniels off the books. And so basically you got yourself in a situation where you could have just traded Davion and not given up any picks and cleared the money a different way. And now you have 2 second-round picks over the next 7 years that you have access to, and you can't use those to go get better players. That's tough. Hey, look, it's Faraz.
Hi, Faraz. Hang on 1 second. Let me get it where you can hear him.
Hi.
Hi, friend.
What's up, dog?
Hi, guys. What's up? How you doing?
Not great. It's all bad out here in Kingsland.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah. The Sacramento Kings are the New York Jets of the NBA.
It's all right, man. Can we please just compare? Let's do the Knicks. Let's talk about the Knicks. If we're going to do any comparisons here, at least we have one team that is somewhat promising.
Yeah, shout out to Cat, man.
Who is this cat? I
No,
don't even know who this cat is. It's a different cat.
Oh yeah, dude, insane, totally different player.
Yeah,
shout out to Tibbs, getting the most out of him.
He learned how to rebound. Like,
right.
90
who's this guy?
Not nearly enough is made about the fact that a man named Woody Johnson has a son named Brick Johnson. That's insane.
I cannot believe I haven't put 2 and 2 together. That's
that is wild shit, dude.
It's like the Steve Kerr son name, which we're not going to say on the air.
We are not going to say his son's name.
As soon as I'm done with this, that's going into the group chat. I can't wait. I can't wait to type that out. I'll give you credit though. Don't worry.
Dope.
That's
Thanks.
amazing.
Did
you tweet that out yet or no?
No, I should though. Should I tweet that? I'm gonna tweet that.
Yes, you should.
Kyle's over here getting himself in trouble.
Right.
I mean, just talk about, like, when you're sitting there talking to your wife, like, hey, got a baby on the way. Let's go through names that we can name our kid. And you always sit there and go, okay, how will this sound? Will it sound, and what is it going to be shortened to? And will they get made in fun of? And to do that, like,
yeah, instead of Woody Jr., just go Brick.
Well, so his nickname is Brick.
Ah.
His middle name though is Wood.
Oh. So, like, the wife just has to sit there just like, man, I can't believe we're doing this. I'm just going to go along with it. I cannot believe we're doing this.
Insane.
Absolutely wild.
All right, here we go, guys.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We have another hour to be angry about the Kings, and we're going to get into all of the different angles that we need to get into with the Sacramento Kings. But before we do that, we have a little palate cleanser with the homie Faraz Siddiqui of Upper Hand Fantasy, getting you ready for the fantasy football playoffs. Faraz, hello, good morning. We appreciate you for saving us from the depths of hell that we have to reach to talk about the Sacramento Kings right now. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And fantasy football semifinals this week for most people, it's nerve-wracking, man. It's like, I had to sweat in a few leagues last week. Monday night, man, like I needed a couple guys to not score. Like when you have no guys going on a Monday night, and you need guys to not score, you got to pretty much stay up for the entire game and just watch that thing until the clock hits 0. Otherwise, it's super anxiety inducing. But I'm glad I was able to make it out.
There's nothing more exhilarating than you need Keenan Allen touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't know why I picked Keenan Allen. And there's 4 minutes left and the Bears have the ball and it's or you need a Keenan Allen touchdown or you need this many catches for this many yards, whatever you need this amount of points. And there's nothing more exhilarating than when he gets that catch.
Yeah.
He gets that
100%.
catch for 40 yards and it's you won. But there's also nothing worse than Caleb Williams drops back. Oh, he's airing it out. Oh, who's going to? Oh, it's Roma Dunze. Oh, touchdown. Oh, they're not going to get the ball back. I lost.
Well, I had the Dobbins situation this season where Dobbins on the last with 16 seconds left, we're up 8.5. He goes for the touchdown, right? But it's only a 12-yard touchdown. But he also has Dicker and lines up and kicks the extra point, and we lose by 0.6 or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's brutal. All season long, that was sort of where we were at. As a Jets fan, you've got to be you can compare a little bit with what's going on with the Sacramento Kings, right?
Yeah, totally. I guess. I mean, the problem is that the Jets have way too many expectations all the time. That's the problem, right? So, and the New York market doesn't help either. It's just every day it's something else. This whole Woody Johnson thing with the Madden ratings with Jerry Jeudy, his son, his kids being in meetings, his wife talking about the players this is way too much, and I am choosing to believe all of it because I just don't like this man. He has taken my team and he has made me want to reconsider, and I am reconsidering.
Wow.
I am taking applications for new teams. So
wow,
the only teams I can't do are the clear front runner teams, and also the Giants. Can't do the Giants, unfortunately.
Are you also wiping out the AFC East?
Yeah, I think I have to. I think that's a rule, right? It's an unwritten rule, I would say. So yes.
You're not just gonna stick around for the Brick Johnson era?
No, I am not.
It can't be that far after the Woody Johnson era.
The problem is that I don't even see him selling. That's the problem. I see them just sticking this out.
Yeah,
forever. So yeah, I'm sad.
Brutal.
I'm sad. Yeah,
brutal.
Sad times.
Alas, let's stop commiserating and let's win some people some fantasy football games. I'm not going to even do a bit this week. I'm asking these questions for me and James. And a listener, this affects you because if we win this league, our work league, we're going to unsanctioned go to a local watering hole still to be determined, and we're going to open up a tab.
Oh, yeah.
So this affects you. So Faraz, I've got a couple of questions for the Swift, Kirk, and the Dickers. Brenton Strange or Hunter Henry in the tight end spot? Brenton Strange had, I think, 11 catches last week or 11 targets.
Targets, yeah.
Yeah, he had 11 targets last week with Mac Jones at quarterback. Is that something that we should be confident in leaning on?
Yeah, confident. When you're comparing to Hunter Henry, you got to it's more of a decision point, right? And I think Brenton Strange, we've seen this before, right? Earlier on in the season, when Evan Ingram was out for several weeks, right? And Brenton Strange was able to come through and hold it down. And I think that's what he could do this week. He only had one less target than Brian Thomas Jr. last week. And we saw what Brian Thomas Jr. was able to do last week. And the matchup against Vegas is really good. They're fourth. They're giving up the fourth most receiving yards per game to tight ends, the fourth most touchdowns per game, the fourth most receptions per game, and the fifth most fantasy points per game. So I would say it's a good matchup. And I don't really want now, while the Bills play a lot of too high coverage, and that means a lot of underneath stuff for Hunter Henry, I prefer to go with the guy who got double-digit targets last week. And Mac Jones is the most, I saw a tweet. I forgot who tweeted this. So someone gets credit, not me, but he's the most overconfident quarterback who actually sucks. That's Mac Jones, right? But right. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think I'm going Brenton Strange here pretty easily, I would say.
All right. We've got some decisions to make at running back as well. We've got Tyrone Tracy, DeAndre Swift, Kendre Miller, and Tank Bigsby. And I think we can only start one of those guys. Where are you going with this group of questionable dudes?
This is for a flex.
It is for a flex, yeah, because I did throw in Jacoby Myers in there.
Oh, is Jacoby Myers an option?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
no, my bad.
Oh.
Yeah. So here's what we're dealing with.
Well, I just totally messed that up.
No, I did. Let me help you help me.
All right.
We have 2 flex spots. And we have Tyrone Tracy, DeAndre Swift, Kendre Miller, and Tank Bigsby.
Okay.
We also have DJ Moore and Jacoby Myers.
And you're starting them as your wide receiver plays.
Those
are also flex options.
Oh, so yeah, I would go with the 2 wide receivers. I would in your 2 flex spots, I would go DJ Moore and Jacoby Myers over those running backs.
Over Tracy and Swift and Bigsby.
Yeah. I would say so. I mean, Jacoby's getting Aiden O'Connell back, which is great. The matchup is so good. He's going up against the Jaguars. The Jaguars are giving up the 2nd most receiving yards per game, the most 20+ reception yards per 20+ receptions per game, the most 40+ receptions per game, the 3rd most fantasy points per game. So this is Jacoby Myers is like a solid wide receiver too that you're able to put in your flex. So I would feel really good about that. DJ Moore, same thing there. Carlton Davis is out for the Lions, right? Mm-hmm. This is barbecue chicken, okay? For like DJ Moore, even Romo Dunze, who caught 2 touchdowns 2 weeks ago, he almost had a touchdown or 2. This past on the Monday night, I was sweating that out. By the way, I was happy he didn't catch those. I would have lost. But I think DJ Moore this week, very good matchup. I'm all about it. I think they're going to be chasing points in that one, and I think DJ Moore can do his thing. So is this a PPR, half PPR? What's
half PPR?
Yeah, I'm leaning the receivers here. If I had to pick a running back, it would actually be Kendre Miller over Tyrone Tracy and over Swift. Yeah, because Roschon could be coming back. He had 2 full practices, so he could steal some goal line work from Swift. And the Tracy thing, Devin Singletary got a whole lot of work last week out of nowhere, and this was not after a fumble, so this is not a doghouse thing. Last week he had to contend with the tough matchup against the Ravens and Devin Singletary, so that wasn't great. I think Kendre Miller is going to be their workhorse. You could see him playing 75% of snaps or more, along with the receiving game stuff too. So I'm not really worried about game script there for those who are thinking about starting Kendre Miller. But yeah, in this situation, I think I'll go with the two receivers.
Kyle, you know what's going to happen now? We're going to have to watch the Jaguars play the Las Vegas Raiders.
You also have Brian Thomas.
Half of our team is going to be in the worst game that anyone ever.
We're locked in. Let's go.
We're locked into 2 teams, neither one of which want to win. They don't want to win at all.
Tap into Raiders Jags right here on ESPN 1320.
Oh yeah, we have that game.
Your home of the Las Vegas.
There you go.
In fantasy. Joining us for Fantasy Friday, answering your fantasy football questions. That's all I had for our team. Is that? I think we're all set.
Yeah, I think so, man. This looks pretty good. If you guys have those 2 in your flex, it's looking pretty good.
Love that for us. All right, let's get the listener question started with Steven Castaneda. He wants to know, should he start Jared Goff or Caleb Williams in that NFC North showdown?
I did actually move Caleb up my rankings a little bit this morning after looking into the matchup a little bit more, but he's still outside my top 12. He's right there, though. I couldn't move him up over guys like, I think Aaron Rodgers is like a step above him or something like that. But Goff, he's been hot. David Montgomery is not playing. They could depend on the pass a little bit more. He was solid against the Bears the last time around. I think it was like 240-2 or something like that. I think he'll be okay in this one. He has the weapons. Gibbs, will they be a ground and pound team against the Bears? Usually game script indicates that to be the case against the Bears because of how vulnerable they are on the ground, but I think Goff can get it done. I'm leaning Goff by a hair, just based off of his recent, high ceiling performances.
All right, let's get to Will Z's question. Will Z, hey Faraz, which of the following 3 would you go with? Ridley, Najee, Devontae Smith, Madison, Jaden Reed, or Metcalf? 3 of them.
This is actually tough because all these guys are kind of in the same tier for me. I think Metcalf and Devontae Smith are 2 that I kind of want to get in. Metcalf, he's been on the usage has been there from like a target share perspective, air yard share perspective, but JSN has straight up been outplaying him, out producing him over the past like 5 or 6 weeks, even after he was back from injury, after Metcalf was back. But the matchup this week is pretty good, and I think he could potentially bounce back in this one. So I'm going to go with Metcalf. Devontae Smith without Dallas Goedert has been really good, over the course of the last couple seasons. So we have a sizable sample there. And I think Devontae Smith, just like you showed last week, can get it done. The matchup isn't, amazing against the Commanders, but I'm going to lean in Devontae Smith's direction because he's not somebody who is really matchup specific, right? And then also, Goddard's out, like I mentioned, but AJ Brown's also dealing with that injury too. So how much does that limit him? Will they go in, more Devontae's way with him being the only full participant in practice this week? So yeah, I think I'm going with those two. And then if I had to pick one more, I might go with the safe floor here. And you know who the safe floor pick is? It's Alexander Madison, another guy in this Jaguars-Raiders game. Sincere McCormick is on IR. Madison's probably going to be the primary early down back. I know, we could, see some other backs involved, but Madison is likely going to be the guy. The Jaguars have been terrible against running backs when it comes to fantasy. So I'm going to lean in Madison's direction here just by a hair. So it's Metcalf, Devontae, and Madison.
Well, palate cleanser from complaining about the Kings. We'll solve all the Kings' problems in the next hour. Right now, we're talking with Faraz Siddiqui, helping you win your fantasy football playoff matchups. Faraz Siddiqui, Upper Hand Fantasy, and upperhandfantasy.com. Fode wants to know Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Cooper Kupp, or Brian Thomas Jr. You got to start 2 of those. That's a good receiving core.
2 of those? Oh, my goodness. I got to go Nico, and I got to go Brian Thomas Jr.
Bro, I'm going. Real quick, I'm punting Cooper Kupp for that fat 0 last week.
Oh, I hear that. I hear you, man. Dude. I hear you. You know what? I overcame the Cooper Kupp 0.
Wow.
And I was able to win last week. But you know why? I had Jared Goff. It was a super flex league. I had Jared Goff and I had Chase Brown, but I also had Jalen Hurts. Those 3 guys just
lit it up.
Pulled me through, man. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. So I'm giving him a mulligan because I won. So he'll be back in my lineup this week. But with these options, McLaurin has a little bit of a tough matchup, so he's a little bit down the rankings this week. Brian Thomas Jr., he's like basically unbenchable based on his usage the last 2 weeks. So yeah, him and Nico.
All right. Let's get to Steven Castaneda, Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson, or Neighbors. He gets to start 2 of these guys.
I would say not Marvin Harrison Jr. I'll go with Neighbors and Garrett. Neighbors has a good matchup. He's getting Drew Lock back, which is fine. And then Garrett Wilson has a good matchup this week. He should be able to get it done. Marvin Harrison just not, he's been super inconsistent. Not someone I want to depend on in the fantasy semifinals.
Where are we here? I got lost.
We're at Norm.
We're at Norm? Where's Norm?
Right here.
There we go. There's Norm. We had some Kings questions above it, which is where I was getting lost.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, guys, 30 seconds. What happened to the Kings? What is happening today? Please tell me. Just 30 seconds.
They just got thumped by the Lakers last night after losing a heartbreaker on Tuesday against Nuggets, and they're 13-15 and all kinds of
expectations in this area where they were going to be a playoff team this year, and it is going the wrong direction.
Yeah, the wheels are coming off the bus a little bit.
Yeah.
Got it.
After a disappointing year last year, yeah, we're in a bad space. We're in a bad place.
Okay, I'm sorry I had to bring it up, but we need to know.
We're about where the Jets were when Robert Saleh got fired. Like that kind of realization of, it's not going to work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's what we're grappling with today.
Yeah. That wasn't the moment for us, by the way.
What was the moment for you?
Right after that, when we traded for Devontae Adams. Was it before after that? When they traded for Devontae Adams, or was it before that? I don't remember. Anyway, when they traded for Devontae Adams right before that Steelers game, and we still lost that Steelers game. That's really what it was for us. It was over. Anyway, I digress. Please, Norm.
Looks like we have
every player in the league, and he needs 2 of them.
What? And I'm packing this one up. Sorry, Norm. I got to reread it. And Soren, is Hawkinson a good play this week if Njoku can't play?
Oh,
yeah, I would say so. I mean, Njoku is just it's rough anyway, right? Yeah, I know the Bengals defense is very vulnerable, but like with DTR as the quarterback, like it's really hard to trust this passing offense. But yes, Hawkinson is a very, very solid pivot, I would say, over Njoku. And even if Njoku can play, I wouldn't blame anyone for playing Hawkinson this week without Jameis.
Okay, so here's what happened with Norm. Norm was just listing his team.
Yeah.
His impressive team. Good team, Norm. He wanted defensive advice, which, as we know on Fantasy Friday with Faraz Siddiqui, he doesn't do.
No.
So I'll answer that one. I'll answer that one for you, Norm. I love to stream a defense. Who else we got?
I thought you were actually going to answer the question. It's okay.
No, I gotta do a little research first.
Okay, so P-Dub, we got Stroud or Darnold, Jerome Ford, or Najee Harris.
Who are the options? Who are the options, man? Let me know the options, please, for the defenses, please. Now I feel bad. You know what I'm saying?
We have he has Buffalo's defense going against Chicago.
Yep.
You got Kansas City.
No, Buffalo's not going against Chicago. Those are going to New England.
New England. Yes,
Yep.
sorry. It was
okay.
the other rookie quarterback, Drake May.
Yep.
You have Buffalo going against New England. You have Kansas City going against the Texans and the Falcons. I don't know who the Falcons play.
Oh yeah.
I kind of like the Falcons. Falcons going against the Giants at home. Going Falcons.
Ooh.
Final answer.
Falcons got the Giants.
Oh, there we go.
All right, very good.
All
Norm,
right.
Congratulations. You were the first person to ever get Faraz to answer a defense question.
I feel
That's
guilty.
right.
It was guilty, you know? It was all guilt.
P-Dub, Stroud or Darnold, Jerome Ford or Najee Harris.
I'm going to go Darnold over Stroud. Doesn't matter what the matchup is. And then Jerome Ford or Najee. I'm going to lean Jerome Ford. By a hair.
All right, let's rip through. We got about 5 minutes left here. Let's rip through these quickly. Brenton Strange, David Njoku, or Tucker Kraft at T.
You know what? I'm going Brenton Strange. Without Jameis, I don't trust Njoku as much.
We had a couple of Jameis related questions in here. And I'll just try and get those out of the way all at once here. Are you still starting Jerry Jeudy this week?
That's
Dorian
the one,
Thompson
right?
Robinson?
Big downgrade. He's more of a wide receiver 3 to me than a high-end wide receiver 2 now. That's really where he's at. So he is startable, but am I going out of my way to keep him in my lineup? No.
And then in the same vein as new starting quarterbacks, Michael Penix is starting. Does that affect Darnell Mooney's ranking at all for you? That's from our guy Keith.
I think it gives me a little bit more confidence, to be honest. Like I just, the last 3 weeks, 2 of those were complete duds from Mooney, and a lot of that had to do with Kirk Cousins. I mean, all of it had to do with Kirk Cousins, to be honest. So Penix's first start, like I think the expectations are a little too high, right? Rightfully so, though. I can understand the offense is clicking, but yeah, I think it will affect him, but I think it will affect him positively.
Great.
Okay, we got a rapid fire here. Let's get through these. From P-Dub, Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, or Devontae Smith?
Brian Thomas Jr.
Excellent. That's where I would go. We got Cousin Pete, Odunze, or Jacoby Myers in my flex?
Jacoby. Get Jacoby.
Okay. From EG, we've got T. Higgins or Drake London, and Rashad White or Bucky Irving.
Oh, this is close. I'm going to go T. Higgins here. He is good to go. And Rashad White or Bucky Irving. I'm going to go Bucky. Bucky's a running back RB1 play for me this week. So I'm going to go Bucky and T. Higgins.
Okay, perfect. We've got Randy. I have Keenan Allen on my bench. Should I have started him over Judy? He had a big game against the Lions on Thanksgiving.
I think I am. As much as I hate to bench Judy as much. Man, it sucks. But I'm going to go Keenan.
I don't want to have to root for Dorian Thompson Robinson.
I know. It's tough.
I like
man.
it.
I'm going Keenan.
All right.
They're going to chase points, so going Keenan.
Yeah. Let's hit Kyler Murray or Jaden Daniels.
I'm going Jaden Daniels here, even with the tough matchup.
Okay. Let's see. We'll just keep ripping through these.
Cade Otton or Cole Kmet?
There we go.
Cade Otton, if he's healthy. Just keep an eye on his practice status.
Right.
Man, these just keep moving quickly on us. Pick 2, Metcalf, Downs, Thielen, Odunze, or McMillan.
I'm going to go with Metcalf and McMillan.
Yeah, Jalen McMillan's interesting.
Okay. Breece Hall, Ken Walker, and Juwan Jennings or Malik Neighbors.
I'm going Breece over Kenneth, and then I'm going to go Juwan Jennings over Malik Neighbors.
Oh,
nice.
okay. Last one from Patrick. Trying to decide RB and flex. I have Irving, Walker, Stevenson, and Patrick Taylor on the bench available.
I'm going Irving and Kenneth Walker with those 4.
All right. There it is.
Yeah, I'm staying. I had a buddy reach out and ask me like, "Hey, what should I do with Patrick Taylor?" I don't know that the Niners trust him enough to give him the volume that makes him a valuable fantasy
I agree.
asset.
I'm with you on that
We
one.
might. Yeah.
We're hoping
He
for
might
45
carry it.
passing attempts by
Yeah.
Purdy.
Yeah.
Big Brock Purdy game.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of Debo.
Ooh,
Did I say the D word?
Got quiet.
Did I say the D word? Sorry.
Debo. Yeah. No. We'll talk about the other Debo, DeMar DeRozan here coming up as well. Yeah, man. No, I'm out on Debo Samuel as a fantasy option this year.
Oh yeah.
All right.
He's on waivers in my leagues.
Oh my God.
Oof.
Yikes.
Oof.
That's Faraz Siddiqui. Upperhandfantasy.com is the website. Upperhand Fantasy on Instagram. You can subscribe to the Upperhand Fantasy podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Faraz, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and hopefully we'll talk to you again next week.
Happy holidays, dude.
Yeah,
Thanks,
buddy.
guys. Oh, you too, guys. You too. Have a great holiday.
Yeah,
Talk
you
soon.
do the same. Yep. See you,
Bye.
Faraz. Appreciate you. There he goes. Faraz Siddiqui, Upperhand Fantasy, man. He's just the very best. Needed that. Needed a fun conversation. That was a good time.
I know.
I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions. We appreciate everybody who asks questions. We really like doing that segment, and we hope that people find it helpful. Okay. We have to step aside momentarily. When we get back, we have red buttons to push with the Kings. We want to hear from you at 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. You can make one move with the Kings. You get to hit your red button, and it does whatever you want. You get to make one move. What move is that? On the Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. We got another hour coming up at the Insiders. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Jiffy Lube sponsors the show. It's ESPN 1320 in Sacramento Sports Center. And clear.
I'm going to fill up coffee real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
You need anything out there?
I don't think so.
More cinnamon roll?
Ooh. No. Hey guys, hang on one second. Oh, come on.
Hello, friends. Patrick Garvin. If you have tickets to the Kings and Lakers, I don't know. I mean, you don't waste tickets, but you could sell those tickets, and those tickets are probably going to be worth a ton. Lakers during the holidays is usually solid cash. Jonas Valanciunas, Trey Lyles, Kobe Jones, and 2 or 3 second-round picks for Jonas Valanciunas. You don't have 3 second-round picks, but I get what you're saying. Hello, Johnny G. Jordan Meeks, I used to know what frankincense and myrrh are. I think they're just like spices. Sacktown Tony, interesting. We got a lot of new people in here today.
Yeah, shout out. Salute. Appreciate
Yeah.
y'all. If this is your first time participating in the chat or listening/watching the show, listening to/watching the show, let us know.
Yeah, tell your friends about our show.
Hey, I'm looking for this every day, so salute. Welcome, everybody. Man.
Just so you know, Jordan, you can buy a frankincense and myrrh essential oil roll-on Amazon. Just saying. Oh.
Hey, salute. What's up, Brian? Oh, yeah, the garden guy. Nice. Not yet. All right, here we go. Hour number 2. It's James. I'm Kyle. Hanging out with you till noon, then we'll head off to D-Lo and KC. I'll take you into the weekend up to 4 o'clock.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The Emergency Kings Roundtable, by the way, coming up at 11:30. D-Lo, KC, and Jesse are all going to hop in here, and we're just going to continue our wide-ranging conversation. So kind of where we left off in the first segment. The Kings lost last night, 113-100. We mentioned this being a season-defining stretch of games yesterday because they were 7-8 through the first 15. And we went, man, that wasn't a very tough first 15 games, but look at their next 15. Here's where they can get on track. They're 13 games into that 15-game stretch, and they're 6-7.
Oof. Even the 5-game stretch we looked at, and we said, hey, they need to go 4-1. They need to 5-0, 4-1.
Yep.
And they've already lost first 2.
Come on. For what it's worth, the 5-game stretch for me started today or yesterday.
Okay, yesterday.
Lakers 3 times, Pistons, Pacers.
Okay.
Get 2 out of 3 from the Lakers, beat the Pistons and Pacers, you're 4-1, and you can still get 2 out of 3 from the Lakers. But here's the problem, and here's why this feels so dramatic. It's because I have no reason to believe anymore that there's some turnaround coming. They're 13-15 through 28 games. They're more than a third of the way through the season. We established that yesterday. And they're just this.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more clear that their struggles are not a matter of, oh, well, hey, uncharacteristically bad shooting and there will be an ascension to the mean and everything's going to be fine. I don't think it is. And that's why, to me now, and I've been very reluctant, if you listen to the show regularly, you know, I try very hard to be like, okay, not time to push the red button yet. Not time to do anything crazy. Now's the time. You got to do something.
Mhm.
And to me, we got here by way of Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox, the front office. They haven't done what they have to do to put together a roster where I can comfortably say it's something else. Like to me, this is a front office problem. That's the way I see it. I don't know how anyone else feels, but to me, when I look at this team, that's what I look at first.
Okay, so I'm going to agree this front office problem, but I'm also not going to excuse the players or the coaches.
No, there are more.
Yeah, like,
but I'm trying to find like the crux of it, because I think for Mike Brown specifically said last night, like players know what they got to do. They just got to go do it.
Mhm.
Like, well, no, if they're not doing it, like coach it differently, do something different,
or find someone else to play. And Mike even said that last night as well. He
Mhm.
said, like, look, I'm at a point where like I've either got to do this or I've got to find someone else to play.
Yep.
The problem is there is like the cupboards are bare.
Mhm.
And like last night I thought,
which goes back to
yeah,
the front office.
it
Go on.
does. It goes back to the front office. And again, we were going to do 6 quick thoughts. We don't have to do 6 quick thoughts.
Yeah,
But
we'll punt those.
I will tell you, my 6 quick thought last night was very specific. I thought Keon Ellis brought energy and some fire, and he only had 5 points, but he had 5 points, like 4 rebounds, a couple steals. Like, I thought Isaac Jones brought energy,
Mhm.
and I get that it's not always easy to like roll the dice and put Isaac Jones out there against Anthony Davis. You did it in the fourth quarter, and to be honest with you, I thought Isaac Jones played phenomenal. He had a couple of stops. He had a bucket. Like, you're like, hey, look, he's doing the things that you're asking. And it's tough for a coach to keep saying, like Mike talked about this early, that Isaac Jones keeps saying, making him say maybe. Like, okay, well, maybe. But then you're to a point where it's like, hey, you've got nothing else. It has to be
Mhm.
yes for right now, and hope that you can ride out like the ebbs and flows of a rookie,
I guess.
second, undrafted rookie. But we should not be discussing that with a team that had 50+ win like aspirations.
Mhm.
That should not be where we're at in this
Not even
season,
close.
this early, where you're wondering how you're going to clear a roster spot because Isaac Jones is going to run out of games in like 22 games because you've already played him that much.
Mhm.
That's a problem. And so, again, this is not any sort of knock on Isaac Jones. Isaac Jones just needs time. You put him in the G League, with 31 points and 15 rebounds the other night.
Yeah, he's too good for the G League.
But
his timeline doesn't match what the Kings need right now. The Kings, there's urgency. It's now.
Well, it's now, and I need a player that knows the game and can step in and like make a visible difference. And Isaac Jones might be that guy, but some nights he's not going to be that guy, and it's because he's young and he doesn't have the experience.
Sure.
So that's one avenue where I think that like you got to start going to. I was surprised we did not see a lot of Jay Crowder last night, but in all honesty, I thought the Kings did a great job on LeBron James, so it didn't really matter.
Mhm.
Like I don't know where else you're supposed to turn if you're Mike Brown.
Can I say another thing? And this might be blasphemous, but it's where I'm at. Again, no bad ideas today. If you want to join the show, the Elk Grove Kia talk line is 916-909-1320. That's 916-909-1320 to join the show on the Elk Grove Kia talk line. Here's the thing I keep coming back to as well, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I don't think the DeMar DeRozan aspect of this is working. There's a clear disconnect to me, in at least how it looks to me. There's a clear disconnect between what the Kings do successfully on offense and what DeMar DeRozan does successfully on offense. I saw all the write-ups. I read all the stuff. I watched all the film clips. I saw it from people smarter than me breaking down how the DeMar DeRozan fit would work. And I bought in. But it's not working the way people thought it would work. It's not dribble handoffs and DeMar DeRozan getting downhill and being this playmaker, and now he's messing up how defenses have to defend the Kings because they now have to defend the mid-range, and it's going to leave all these guys open. It's not going like that. And to me, it looks like hey, here's this player who's going to work for 16 to 22 shots a game that sometimes come within the flow of the offense, more often than not don't. He passes it sometimes, and he's a good passer when he does, but I wouldn't call him like this willing, exceptional playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned it earlier. It was Malik Monk, Domantas Sabonis pick and rolls, 3 out of 4 plays for buckets.
Get out the way.
Is Domantas Sabonis getting downhill, Malik Monk feeding him, bucket, assist for Malik Monk, bucket for Domantas Sabonis. And the 2 plays within that, it was 3 out of 5. And the 2 plays within that weren't Sabonis Monk pick and rolls were a 19-footer and a 17-foot turnaround jumper from DeMar DeRozan. And this is not to say DeMar is a bad player. He's not. But when you look at what the Kings need, I don't look at their team and go, man, they need a guy who's just an individual who can just go get a bucket for him. We talked about it yesterday, man. I think that ball stopping and the lack of motion in the offense and getting out of what worked specifically really well in 22-23, I think that's part of the reason you're seeing some guys struggle that weren't struggling in prior years.
Well, that, and I'll add that if you're going to do a bunch of pick and rolls, the players that you need on the court, like with this team very specifically, it's Kevin Huerter, it's Doug McDermott, it's Trey Lyles and his ability to shoot the 3, it's Keon Ellis. You have got to surround those guys with 3-point shooters to open the spacing on the floor.
That's it.
That's how the pick and roll works. And unfortunately, a guy who lives in the mid-range is in the way. Like, realistically, he's in the way.
Yeah.
And so, like, look, I also, last week, I think it was last week or the week before, Mike Brown very specifically said, like, look, we go into games and we have a game plan, and we make some play calls early to get specific eye shots early in the game. He said, but the play sets that we have in place, it is on the players on the court to run the play sets that they feel are going to work. The players can override any call from the bench.
Right.
Like, when we look at the final play of the game against the Denver Nuggets where they didn't come up with a bucket, that was a specific, they had 1 timeout left. Mike Brown calls a timeout right at the last second. He was able to save that timeout, and he sits everybody down. He draws up a play, or somebody drew up a play on a chalkboard, on a whiteboard, and said, this is what I want you to run. We're going to start a 4-flat. We're going to kick it in the backcourt to De'Aaron Fox, who will have a running start. When they rush him, he's going to find Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis, you go to the rack. If you've got a shot, hit it. If not, hit one of the one collapser on one side or the corner 3. The play was gorgeous. It was perfect.
Yep.
You just had a guy fumble the ball. And I'm not going to get on DeMar DeRozan for that specific issue. Mistakes happen, right? So, but my point is that when you're in a game, the players always have the option to run whatever they feel is the best thing to run at that point. And at some point, you have to take that away. You have to tell the players, I'm sorry, son, you drove the car through like 8 mud puddles and popped 2 tires, and you don't get to drive the car anywhere you want anymore. I have to take something back.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where we're at with some of this.
Yeah.
If the pick and roll is working and someone decides that they're going to shoot a 19-foot jumper in the middle of a run of beautiful pick and rolls that equate to a 98% dunk rate at the rim, you're getting one play after another. At some point, as a coach, you have to call the players, pull players off the court who aren't following the instructions in place. Like, hey, look, if you're not reading what everybody else is reading on the court, then you need to come sit here with me, and I'm going to put in a player. And when I'm putting in that player, I'm going to say, look, I need you to go stand in the corner and space the floor. And that's it. That's all you're doing on this play. Nothing else. We all want to watch 7 consecutive Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis pick and rolls and see how many baskets we can come away with.
Right. And when that gets stopped, when the defense adjusts, adjust accordingly.
Well, not only that, but we didn't even get to the point where they stopped Domas and Malik goes in and
Right.
scores 3 buckets or pulls up for a 6-foot jumper.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even get to that point.
Right.
You just stopped doing it. And it's like, what is happening? And again, like Mike Brown ran out of timeout so early last night.
That was crazy.
How many times I asked him before the game very specifically, how frustrating is it that we're in year 3 of your coaching and you're going back to year 1 where you had to call timeouts 50 seconds into games, 65 seconds into games? How frustrating is that when you have 5 veterans on the floor and we've already given all of their props, who they are as players, 1-time All-Star, 3-time All-Star, 6-time All-Star, 6th man of the year, should have won it 2 years in a row, 4th pick overall. We've already gone through that. Like, your starters should not have any questions. They shouldn't have a lack of energy. That doesn't make any sense. Are you pros or are you not? Like, are you a pros pro or are you not? And at what point do you go, look, go out there and just play hard. Just do the thing. But also open your eyes. Something's working. Keep doing it.
Right.
You guys
Just
have carte
hammer that
blanche
until
to do
doesn't
it.
work anymore. Yep.
It's not about you. It's about winning.
Mhm.
That's it. You know, like the old thing with Kawhi Leonard and Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich kept going to Kawhi and say, please shoot it, please shoot it, please shoot it. And Kawhi wouldn't shoot it. And he finally sat him down and said, look, Kawhi, the reason I ask you to shoot the ball is not because I want you to score 25 points a game. It's because you shooting the ball from that spot on the floor gives my team, San Antonio Spurs, the best opportunity to win. That's it. Go out there and play winning basketball. Do the things that work. Do the things that make your team win. And if the other team can't stop them, keep doing it until the game is over and you're up 30.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm sure there's some reason that doesn't happen, but I would like to see it. I'd like to know a good reason why that's not what happens.
Go watch footage of the Utah Jazz in the 90s.
Yeah.
Pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll,
couldn't stop it. I saw something in the chat I also want to address. Before we do that, though, the Elk Grove Kia talk line is open, 916-909-1320. Don, you are on the air with Kyle and James. What's up?
Hey, this is Sam. I don't know if I'm John, but this is
sorry.
Sam. How you doing?
Sam.
What's up, Sam?
That's okay. Hey,
Thanks.
you know, the most glaring problem I saw last night, and somehow they're going to have to get a little better, is that Sabonis was surrounded by 3 rebounders on almost every possession. And Keegan Murray wasn't there to get the boards, and it was just like every time that he was the only rebounder. Now, I understand all the offense because I talked to you guys before about the shooting, but I think we need a power forward and that can get the rebounds and along with Sabonis, because look back last night at the footage and you'll see exactly what I mean. And he was surrounded every time by 3 people, and the other guys were standing doing whatever they're doing.
No doubt. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate the call. Oh, it wasn't done. That's okay.
Well, in all honesty, again, you're undersized. You're undersized at every position. And I think Keegan Murray at 7 rebounds a game, that's probably where he's at. He's not 8, 9 rebounds a game. And hey, I think he's done a great job rebounding, but
He's done a really nice job.
yeah, but when you get outside of, just so people know, you got Domantas Sabonis at 13 rebounds per game, Keegan Murray at 7.7. Who do you think's third on the team in rebounding?
Keon Ellis.
No.
Kevin Herter.
Nope.
De'Aaron Fox.
Yes. 5 rebounds a game.
Jeez.
After that, there's not another player averaging 4. DeMar DeRozan, 3.9. Malik Monk, 3.6. 3.5 for Herter. 3.9 for Trey Lyles. That's it.
Yikes.
You want to know why you got beat in the rebound advantage last night? Because somebody else, the other team, there is something you can do against Domantas Sabonis. You can't put extra bodies on him as a rebounder, and you can limit him.
Yep.
And he still had 12 rebounds, but only 1 offensive. All of those were defensive rebounds.
Yeah, and Sam's right. How many times last night was Sabonis trying to tip the ball to himself because there were a bunch of Lakers around him?
Yeah.
It happened a lot.
And the rebounding advantage was like 53-42. You got smoked on and 15 offensive rebounds for the Lakers.
That's too many.
We get into second chance points. Second chance points killed the Kings last night.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
that's it. Like,
Yep.
that's why starting it's difficult, but having a 6'6" small forward, having 2 6'3" guards in the backcourt, you're undersized.
Yep.
And so again, I want to beat up on Keegan Murray for his inability to hit threes at 40%, but he's being asked to be the second best rebounder on the team. He's being asked to be the best defender on the team. There are a lot of things he's being asked to do, and you can ask him to be better, but you also have to be realistic at some point and know that like he's left out of a lot of what's going on the court stuff.
So I brought up DeMar DeRozan and the adverse impact I think he's having on the Kings, and someone in the chat said, so it's all DeMar DeRozan's fault.
No.
And it's not. No, but you picked up and dropped in a player who has a usage rate of 25.3% into the Kings offense. He's shooting the second most field goals per 100 possessions. Like, he is the biggest change to their offense. Like, if you're looking for common denominators or I guess common denominators for what's different from this year to last year that would make certain guys on offense struggle. The guy with the second highest usage rate on the team who shoots it the second most on the team. Like that's why I look at DeMar and I go, I don't think this is a good fit. Again, not that he's bad. I don't think he's a bad player.
No.
But the fit isn't working with this specific roster the way I think the Kings envisioned it working. I don't think that's insane.
No.
They're scoring the hell out of the basketball, but they have some players struggling, and I think those two things are tied together in some way. Maybe it's a smaller percentage of the pie than I have in my head. Yeah, but it seems like an explanation to me.
The Kings' offensive rating is 115.5, and I mean that's down from like last year's crazy numbers that everyone was averaging. But that 115.5, they're 7th in the NBA in offensive rating. And if they didn't have a bad game last night, they probably would be 6th. Like,
and this is where it's like, this is what I don't want to. I hate challenging like a professional athlete's like heart or desire or whatever, because to get to that level, you're already a little bit of an insane person. Like, you've already done so much work that I cannot even begin to fathom to get to that level. The last guy on the bench has done that work. The guys in the G League have done that amount of work that I just can't even fathom putting into a thing. But on the other hand, we talk about the stats, we talk about the players, we talk about all these other things. Hey, look at their offensive rating. Hey, their defensive ratings improved. Then why do they stink? And if it's not the physical stuff, then it's something else. It's an intangible thing.
Yeah, the advanced stats say that the Kings again should be 16-12.
Right, and they're not.
But they're not. I mean, the fact that they're 3-9 in games decided by 5 points or less.
It's a problem with you when you have guys like De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, Domantas Sabonis, and Keegan Murray closing out games.
Yep.
You shouldn't struggle that badly in close games.
No.
That should be yours. We talked about that all offseason. Like, man, they get in a close game, it's night.
Yeah, and at a certain point, you have to strip it back down to like the basics and say, okay, like De'Aaron Fox, I need you to be the guy in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left. I need you to, and if you go like 0 for 2, 0 for 3, and you're like, hey, I don't have it, hand it off.
Sure.
That's fine.
Sure.
But that's where we start. That's where we start. And in the first 5 minutes of the game, I need you to set the table. I need you to develop the tempo of the game, to put your stamp on the game in the first 5 minutes. After that, everybody else can, like, they pulled De'Aaron Fox at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter. Then they bring him back out at the 9-minute mark. For that first 6 minutes, it's you. And that doesn't mean that you have to take every shot, but I at least need 4 or 5 shots.
Yeah.
And I need you to do what it is that your magic power is, which is get to the key, break everything down, set the tempo, set the standard of what this game is going to look like.
And does he?
I don't care who the other 4 players are on the court.
I hate that we're in year 8 and the conversation is still like, hey, need a little more, man.
Well, but I think like saying I need a little more is one thing, but also like I need you to be selfish in the first. I need you to set.
Yes,
like,
I need you
everything.
to be a psychopath.
The standard for what tonight's game is going to be. And it's almost like he has those moments in the game. So you just need to rearrange and say, okay, look, everybody else, this is what we're doing. We're just going to see what he can do for the first 5 minutes of the game. And we won't be behind. Trust me.
Set the tone that way, right?
And that doesn't mean you're not going to touch the ball. It doesn't mean you're not going to score because he's going to assist. He's going to change the speed and the pace of the game in the first 5 minutes. The other guys, they need to get out of the way and let it happen. Set the screens, hit the open threes, do the things that make the offense work. And then we can switch it up when we go to the bench and everybody can do different things. But it's tough, man. I don't know if there's one solution for everything, but I'm certainly like, we have enough things that we know don't work at all at this point.
Yeah. Let's get out to the Elk Grove Kia talk line before we step aside. The Kings Emergency Roundtable coming up at 11:30. Damian Barling, Kenny Caraway, Jesse Tapia. Everybody's going to be in here. We're going to discuss this all as an ESPN 1320 family. Before we do that, though, it's time for everybody's favorite radio segment. It is Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch, what's going on?
Merry Christmas, Kyle.
Merry
James.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
The brothers, Damon and Casey and Tapia. I can't forget. I hope I got everybody out there. We definitely need the more size as a rebounding. I guess we have 2 6'3" guards, you say? That's why we drafted a 6'2" guard and Devin Carter, who's hurt. Delicacy. We got to go get Cam Johnson. I don't think that costs a lot. But then I would like to have, if it's Collins, then I guess we have to give up Keegan. Maybe we can Cam Johnson. I heard maybe Simmons be bought out. What we have to lose with him. It won't cost us much, but we have to get some size from rebound. Maybe Barker can teach us how to rebound. He was only 6'4", 6'5", and he's one of the best. Have a nice weekend.
Appreciate you, Mitch. Thanks. Mitch is ready to go Ben Simmons.
That's when we know things have hit a certain moment.
Kenny Caraway, who is joining us next with Damian Barling and Jesse Tapia. Kenny Caraway last night tweeted rock bottom.
Oh.
And boy, does it feel like it. My worry is that it's not.
Yeah.
My worry is that it gets worse.
My worry is that I covered 14 years of basketball before this run, 13 years of basketball before this run.
And it wasn't great?
I saw a lot worse. It just feels worse because you expected better.
Expectations were higher, yeah. And that's the worst part. All right. The Kings Emergency Roundtable, D'Lo and Casey, Jesse Tapia, everybody's going to be in here. A full segment, ironing this out together, talking this out, figuring out if there's a red button to hit, what should they do? That's coming up next on The Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. This is ESPN 1320, and it's Sacramento Sports Center. Can you get those computers logged in for me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why I was cleaning out my spot. Oh. Dave, you can log in. Oh, you got to pull. He's all up and running. I'll let you log.
Thanks, Kyle. That's what it looks like.
Hey, all right, we're back. I'm gonna sit
You are looking live.
from the worst slums of Sacramento. You,
That's what I was trying to tell you that one day.
yeah, no. I'll just verbally do it.
Carlton, I'm out here every day watching the games like you. Trust me, I feel the pain.
Wow.
I watch the Kings probably more than the
That's
Celtics
crazy.
at this point.
That's true. He's just waiting for June.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to
he's
lead
not-
the
you think-
charge. I'm
you
trying
think-
to help you guys.
You think Jesse's watching Celtics basketball in December?
Waiting for June.
Cutting the podcast at 4 o'clock, not watching Celtics basketball.
It's $20. The Deuce and Mo in here. What a bummer.
Yeah.
Man, we making money here at ESPN 1320 because these commercials have been a bitch this week.
Yeah, like the 6-minute commercial breaks.
Yeah.
I'm with Soren here. Seriously.
I'm going through it too.
Joe, okay. All right, relax, pal. Relax, pal. Joe Mazzola wanted to fight everybody last night.
Joe Mazzulla wants to fight everybody every night.
Well,
I don't know. Post game, he said he was wishing them a Merry Christmas.
smart move.
Oh.
Smart move. Ain't gonna take that man's money.
Someone says that's 106.5 the end money. Well,
Oh, yeah,
I wish.
it's true.
All right. All right. I was sitting there watching the end of the Kings game last night, and I said, it is time for an emergency roundtable. So I hit up Damian Barling, who is in the building.
Indeed.
I hit up Jesse Tapia, who's in the building. I forgot to hit up Kenny, who's not here, but that's fine.
He's on his way.
Felt serious yesterday when you sent out that text.
Yeah, I was like, we got to talk. We got to figure this out.
Yeah, the group text was more serious than the one you sent me.
The worst part was, I'll just tell you, I was sitting there watching Mike Brown.
Well,
Interviewing Mike Brown, and on my phone, I keep getting these alerts that all of you guys are chiming in.
You're holding, yeah.
It's up, and I'm like, oh, look, I guess we're doing a roundtable. Like, I guess we're having a conversation tomorrow about what I'm watching unfold right here. I'm like, yeah, this is dark, bro.
Yeah. Did you just reread the text message?
Yeah, I forgot I sent that.
Well, they'll do that to you.
It was a great idea, though, right?
It was fantastic.
All right.
I'm just glad you remembered this morning.
Oh, yeah, no, I
That
was
you
locked
sent
in.
the idea. Yeah, okay,
I
very
was,
good.
I was locked in on the idea. I forgot that I alerted you first because I didn't want to tell everybody and be like, hey, we're going to do this. And everybody be like, bad idea. So I just wanted to run it by Damian first to make sure it's a good idea.
All right.
So
Everyone seemed like they were on the same page post game too yesterday.
yeah, and that's why that's the thing is it feels like after every game this year, we've kind of been in this situation where there's been not really a consensus. Like, okay, yeah, but if this is different, that was different. Kenny Caraway now in the building is part of the Emergency Kings Roundtable here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader.
It's more of a Pentagon table.
Yeah. So you tweeted last night, rock bottom.
Yes, sir.
And my worry is that it's not.
For this group,
like I feel like it could definitely get worse, and I think it's going to.
Well, I mean, for this group, when I it could, but like when I think about rock bottom for this group, like this is as low as it gets before S hits the fan.
I see.
Right, like people are gone, people lose jobs, people that we really like are traded. Like that's next. As far as like this group, just as is, it can't get no worse without people leaving the building.
Is there anything left to get out of this group?
That's my concern. Is we've been talking about hitting the red button, and like now's the time for me.
So to you though, what's the red button?
For me, it is you have to. This roster is not it, and we talked about this last offseason. At some point, to get this team really where it needs to go, it's got to get uncomfortable. And this fantasy land where De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and Keegan Murray and Malik Monk, they're going to be together forever. I think that's fantasy land to me now.
Okay.
I think if you're going to make the move substantial enough to make a real impact, I think it's going to have to include one of those guys.
I agree.
I definitely think when you have De'Aaron Fox coming out and vocalizing that the roster isn't what you expected it to be, that's when you're like, oh, okay. Like De'Aaron Fox is literally talking about it openly that the roster isn't enough, that there has to be something else. And we heard Domantas Sabonis like at his camp early in the offseason, like say like, well, at least we got this one done. You know, not like the other couple we didn't get done. And it was like, oh, those are barbs from guys
for sure.
who typically don't go outside of the bubble of the team. Like there's a lot of things that happen here. But when we get Domantas Sabonis after last night, me and Brendan sitting there talking to Domas, like he was professional. Like he handled himself very well. Like he talked about, yeah, we still love each other. Like all these things that they continue to say, like we don't know all of the reasons why this is happening, but we're still here together. We're still fighting together. But when you hear those little barbs, those are when you're like, okay, like things are starting to unwind. And we're at that point where all of those things are going to start being collected and put into posts where you're like, okay, yeah, it's been enough playing out over the last 3, 6, 8 months. Or for that matter, 3 years. Like we've talked about it. How uncomfortable is it for Kevin Huerter and for Trey Lyles right now? Because I know how uncomfortable it was for Harrison Barnes for 3 years to hear his name in every single trade. It's just uncomfortable. And that's how they do business.
Then be better. Like be better than.
No, I get you, but it's really uncomfortable. Like everyone's talking about it everywhere about how you might lose your job at any time. We might not have that show tomorrow. Maybe the next day, but we probably will have it. I don't know. Maybe you'll be here. Maybe you won't. We'll see what happens on February 8th. If you're here, you're here.
That's a little bit of a false equivalent too, because we don't have a show. We lose our job. You just go work in a different city and you make, I hate to be this way, but you make your millions of dollars. You got to perform. You don't want to hear those things. Perform.
It still doesn't feel good though.
No, I'm sure it doesn't. Neither does this. There were 19 points from the bench yesterday, which is actually a lot for them. 7 was the lead. It was Kevin Huerter. Did anyone glance at the box score from the Golden State Warriors game last night? The Warriors-Grizzlies game. The Grizzlies put up 144 points. Did anyone examine that box score at all? The 2 leading scorers for the Memphis Grizzlies came off the bench. One of them's name is Santi
Aldama.
He had 21 points.
Yeah, lit it up.
The other one's name is Jake.
Good old Jake.
LaRavia.
He had 19.
Yeah.
And that's not counting old Luke Kennard, who had 15 points.
The Kennard dog.
That bench can score. That bench is pale, but that bench can score.
Shout out to Jake.
Santi, Jake, and Luke. Are you serious?
That's crazy.
So all that is 100% right, but I keep saying we're having 2 different conversations. They're number 2 in the Western Conference. You want to be number 2, number 1 in the Western Conference? You get bench production like that.
Yeah.
I keep saying it. You don't need that to not be what the Kings are right now. Flip it to 15 and 13. They need Jake to be 15 and 13?
Why
This is ridiculous.
Why isn't it the other way then? What's going wrong?
That's what I keep asking. Is if they have all NBA center, point guard we think should be all NBA, 6th man of the year that we think should be 6th man of the year, the number 4 pick who's untradeable, and who am I missing? And a Hall of Famer.
Okay, so so I'm glad you ended with that one. So were all of the Bontemps and the Windhurst and those jackasses, were they right?
Maybe.
It kind of feels that way.
Maybe.
Signing the Hall of Famer was the wrong move?
Maybe.
Kind of feels that way.
Because
I don't think
last
they
year,
are, but the results are saying what they're
Yeah,
saying.
right.
where is it? 17 and 11 through 28 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
16 and 12 through 28 games the year prior.
That's significantly better.
But you guys talked about it before we came in here. All metrics are up. All metrics are, at least that I can tell.
The metrics are lying. Like I know.
I think the metrics in the league
let me
are
ask
up.
this. Let me ask this. If the metrics are up, because you're right, we brought this up. We touched on it just briefly earlier. Yeah. If that's right, then what's wrong?
There are 2 that are down, and I'm not saying it's their fault, but there are 2 that are down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the shooting of Herter, it's the shooting of Keegan Murray, 3-point shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 2 things that are different in a negative way than last year, unless I got that wrong.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is up
except
for that. And once again, it's not all that's not all their fault.
Mm-hmm.
But that's more of a difference. Like we talked about DeMar DeRozan. You guys were talking about the sequence last night when they kept going to the pick and roll and converted, and then you got to get DeMar shots. Who's calling that play?
The
like
players.
let's really break that down. Who's calling that?
Mm-hmm.
So number one, let's go through the options. Is DeMar DeRozan after 3 straight pick and rolls saying, "Yo, Fox, Monk, hey, come on, it's time for me to eat.
DeMar DeRozan time.
It's time for me to eat." Is he saying that? If no, which I don't think he is, why are Monk or anybody calling a different play? That's not DeMar's fault.
Sure.
We talk about, we haven't seen all the things that we thought we were going to see coming in the offseason with the dribble handoff. Why not?
Why
not?
That's a great question.
They worked on it. They were in the Galen Center working on it.
I thought it was Juju Watkins.
Yeah. And now we're here, and DeMar is getting it in quote unquote his spots. But once again, unless somebody is telling me that DeMar is saying, "Nah, man, don't give me no dribble handoff. Give me the ball right here, else I'm sitting and pouting." If he's not saying that, then where are the coaches and where are the point guards?
I don't know, but I'll also tell you, I watched him go one-on-one against Anthony Davis and just sat there and shook my head. Like, that's one of the best defenders in the league, and he's 5 inches taller than you. What is happening? Like, why? What is happening in this moment? Why have you not moved off the ball? You have a center spaced out away from the basket. Why is the ball not moved? Because scoring against Anthony Davis in that situation is like maybe a 20% chance. That's it. Like, yeah. I don't care who you are. He's way bigger than you, and he's got you. You're isolated on him. And if you don't think that that's something that the Lakers just sitting there saying, yes, we have Anthony Davis isolated on DeMar DeRozan on the outside. You don't think that they're like sitting there like, this is exactly what we were hoping for.
But at the same time, though, it's not Isaac Jones being isolated on Anthony Davis. DeMar DeRozan has probably gotten plenty of buckets. It's not out of the realm of possibility to say, I got the big man on me. I can go to work.
It doesn't work once. You got to move on.
Okay.
And you got to move the ball. And like, again, I'm not someone who's saying this is all DeMar DeRozan's fault. I have not said that at all. But there are enough situations where you can look at the mixture of players aren't working nearly enough.
Right.
The mixture, whatever it is, it's not, the ingredients aren't working. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you fix that without, again, when December 15th just came and went, you can trade DeMar DeRozan at this point. Mm-hmm. You can trade anybody. But like, that's where you're looking like, okay, we tried something and you made a big fanfare out of it when you signed the guy, but you also created a window where there wasn't a window before.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings window was much bigger than this. But like all of a sudden there's a 2-year window where you got to win. It's like, okay, yes, the Kings need to win without any question, but we created this like window when DeMar DeRozan was brought in on a 2-year deal with a 3rd-year option at 35 years old.
How quick does Monty need to move if, like, yesterday we felt like it was rock bottom? What if they feel the same in the locker room and, like, that Mike Brown post-game press conference was kind of tough and all that? Like, some of the ingredients not working. Like, how fast does Monty need to move at this point then?
Yeah, he needs to move immediately.
6 months ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
Actually,
and let's be
Like,
clear.
are we done? Are we done waiting for this team to, like, improve at this point? Like, now is it just, all right, we got the deal here, make the deal now?
That's what it is for me.
Monty and Wes need to move.
Yes.
Because if they're getting brought up together, then we're going to bring them up together.
Yep.
Monty and Wes need to figure something out.
yes.
And I am adamant. If you're firing one, you're firing both.
You have to.
And I'm not here to jump in front of Wes, but
Sure.
Wes was not mentioned when Monty won Executive of the Year. So we can't mention Wes when it's going bad.
Mm.
I'm not saying
I
he's
think
not
you
at fault.
can.
I'm not saying he's at fault, but when it just like we just talked about for a whole day with De'Aaron Fox yesterday, when it's going good, you get the credit.
Mhm.
When it's going bad, you've got to wear that too.
Sure.
And we're not going to throw Wes in there now.
I feel
because we
like
didn't-
Wes has been in it.
Yeah,
I feel like
but
he
it's a
has.
front office problem. We say Monty because he's the head of the front office. But to me, you're not firing Monty and being like, oh, yeah, the guy who was right there with him making all the same decisions. Here you go.
Chris Biederman asked Mike Brown about the ingredients that he has, and he was like, look, you got to ask Monty and Wes about that.
All right.
He didn't say Monty McNair.
Sure.
He said you got to ask Monty and Wes about that.
Let me ask you this, Kenny.
Mhm.
Because Jesse said, when's the time to act? When's the time to stop waiting for players to just come around and do something? If you could hit a red button right now, or pick your favorite color button, if you could hit a button right now that the Kings make the one move, not like a domino effect of moves, they can do one thing that you think makes them better. What is it?
I mean, it's not a red button, but it's the move I would make before the red button. Is that fair? Or do you want the
Okay,
red button?
no, but what's
You
the
want
move
the
you
red
would make?
button.
What's the move you would make right now? If you're not at red button place, that's fine.
Find a way to get like Finney Smith, maybe even a Kuzma, and keep the guys that you consider core together. I'll get off the fence because we're having an emerging podcast and we talking. Trey Keegan Murray and see what you can get. And it's not to say it's Keegan Murray's fault, but that's your biggest asset. Well, it's not.
I would agree.
De'Aaron Fox and DeMarcus
That's the
Cousins
red
are-
button to me.
Yeah. De'Aaron
Red
Fox
button
your
is
biggest
trading
asset.
trading De'Aaron Fox. That's the red button.
That's
my red button is you start firing people and this thing, it doesn't stop.
Mhm.
Like it goes, you want to fire all the sasses out here in the chat that were like, it's all on Mike Brown. You fire Mike Brown, it's not going to get better. It only gets worse. I've been through it so many times.
That's the black button.
7-21.
Oh.
Tyrone Corbin, 7-21. It is the button that leads to the next button, that leads to the next button.
That's the
and
vortex button.
let me just tell you what those buttons are. Is if you want to fire Mike Brown, that's fine. Because right after that, you're gonna fire Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox when it doesn't work in the offseason. And then De'Aaron Fox is gonna say, I'm done, I'm good. Get me the F out of here. That's the next button. And then it's all over from there. You start over or whatever. I don't know what you do at that point, but that's the button that so many people press it. It's like, okay, just all of these things, they play in together. Like it never, ever works to fire one guy and think that the next guy's going to come in and everything's going to be roses, because look, I'll tell you, like the other guy that could step in is Doug Christie, because that's probably who Vivek is going to want to step in because he did it once before. That means that there's a good chance that at the end of the year, he's gone and everybody else is gone, because it's not just going to turn around because you did one move like firing a coach. So like, I get it. The move right now is to try to figure out how to fix what's going on.
Mhm.
It's not to go blame game. It's your fault. And then, because once you say it's your fault and you make that move, there's no one else protecting Monty and Wes.
Mhm.
They already made the play. The play was to blame it on Mike. Now it's on you. And when this thing spins out like it always does, that's where you're going to be facing.
Are there problems deeper than beyond the bench? Because we've talked about I've said the last few weeks, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You just need to get some guys who are consistent. But yesterday, it felt like they were just from watching, they felt like they were disconnected. And it's just like this group just isn't working at this point. Like maybe it is time for a big shakeup where I'm not for getting rid of DeMar, but maybe you trade Keegan or whoever. Is it time for something bigger?
Well, so how if you're De'Aaron after the last 2 or 3 days, do you pick up your 5th foul in the 3rd quarter? Better yet, if you're Mike Brown, how do you let De'Aaron Fox after these last few days pick up his 5th foul in the 4th quarter?
He played 36 minutes. He played the entire 4th without picking up another foul.
He still played. He was effective? You think he was effective in the 4th quarter?
Did I think he was effective 1 through 3?
Well, okay. Okay. Well,
I mean,
yeah, you asked the question. I don't know. Did you?
Yeah. To be honest,
I'm guessing you didn't.
To be honest, I thought he was better in the 4th quarter, playing with 5 fouls than he was the rest of the game.
To me, the fact that they have all these players and there's all these metrics, to me, there's something like at the core of what or who this team is. And that's my concern.
This is always magnified too when it's the Lakers.
Sure.
Like you get your ass whooped by the Lakers because you do it in front. Hey, and salute to the Laker fans.
Yes.
Because the game sold out.
And they chanted.
The game sold out last night because the Los Angeles Lakers were here. That's the state in which the Sacramento Kings are in. Salute. It'll sell out on Saturday at 3:00. That's where we're at. The times the Kings play the Lakers, the game sells out. So it stings more when it's the Lakers. And it feels like that's why I think if that had been it'd been Denver again, I don't know that it would feel like rock bottom, but because it's the Lakers and it's really loud in there when the Lakers are winning, yeah, you're walking out like this is embarrassing.
Another issue that we've talked about ad nauseum, but it keeps rearing its ugly head is Monty McNair, who I like and I don't want fired. For a team that talks about depth, you drafted a guy that can't play. Literally cannot get on the floor. And
yep.
I don't know how you survive that.
Yeah.
I don't and
especially when other rookies are playing well.
Other rookies are playing well.
Drafted.
100%. And this was your call. They let basketball people do basketball things.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody always cried. They let basketball people do basketball things regardless of what other people thought. And that was your decision. I don't know how you survive that if this continues.
Did he just completely misread this roster and what this team's timeline is and all that? You're drafting a guy who's not playing for 6 to 8 months or whatever you want to call it. For what they are now, this doesn't make any sense.
Jesse, yes, because you had enough of a sample size midway through last season to know that roster wasn't it.
Yep.
You did. You knew it wasn't it, and you did absolutely nothing. You traded for Robin Lopez and waived him at the deadline. You did nothing. You get to the offseason. You were going to trade the pick. You're going to trade the pick. You didn't trade the pick. Whatever deal you had fell through. You were going to sign XYZ. You were going to sign X, Y, and Z. Those fell through. You made the trade for DeMar DeRozan. You gave up 3 second-round picks to clear cap space. And all we see now is you cleared cap space so you don't have to pay the luxury tax. And now you don't have those 3 second-round picks to go out and trade for, Dennis Schroeder just got traded for 2 second-round picks.
And an expiring.
But you don't have that.
Right.
So
maybe you wouldn't have to trade if you wouldn't have drafted a player that can't play.
That's
maybe
point.
That would have been the solution.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna give it to you guys now. You guys can continue this conversation.
Pause. You know what? Yeah, we might be down bad. We're not down that bad. It's a flag. It's a pass interference.
A round table.
Yeah. Take it easy.
We're D-Lo and KC next. Drink water and be nice, people.